So we just have taken a look at using relative position. Now let's talk about absolute position. So let's go back to our pen, and I'm going to copy these three divs, and we're going to go to section 2, and let's go ahead and just reformat our section here like so. And we will paste in our divs, only now we will have 4, 5, and 6. And let's go ahead and update our numbers that are going to show up in our browser. So we will have 4, 5, and 6. Okay. Now, to save a little bit of time, I'll take box 2 here because we're going to use top and a left again. So let's copy. We're going to find our rule for section 2. Our 3 divs are inside section 2, so it's best that we follow section 2. All right, so let's paste. This will now be box 4, and we're going to set our position to absolute. Okay, and then the top, I'll go, instead of a negative number, let's go down. We'll go 100 pixels from the top, and let's go 200 pixels to the left, like so. Okay, and let's see, let's take box 4. Let's just leave box 5 and box 6 alone, and we'll save, and let's just take a look and see what happens. So we'll refresh. Okay, and you'll see 5 and 6 are in the normal flow of the document. They're actually taking up all this space over here. But you'll see that number 4 is now 100 pixels from the top and 200 pixels. So we're starting from this corner up here. But absolute, we could start from this corner, we could start from the bottom right, we could start from the bottom left. So you have a lot of leeway, you have a lot of options with moving your elements around with absolute. Now, I should point out that absolute position removes the elements from the normal flow of the document. So section 2, 5, 6, they have no idea that this box is even here. It's out of the normal flow of the document. Okay, not necessarily a big deal, but just so you are aware that other elements will not really know that this element is even here. Okay, so let's go back, and I'm going to take, and on our border, let's go ahead and add a background color. And we'll just do blue in this case, and save, and we'll do a quick preview, and we should have some color inside of our box. Okay, and you'll see why we're going to add some color here in a moment. So now let's go ahead and copy, and we will paste, and we're going to call this box 5. Okay, and we're going to make our color red. Now let's go 150 pixels from the top, and let's go 250 pixels to the left, and we'll save, and let's update our page, and you'll see that now number 5 is drawing here. Now we can lay these out in a columns and rows any way we want, or create any sort of pattern you want. And of course, you could have different widths and heights, and you could place content inside like images or type or whatever, and move them around from any of the four corners using your coordinates. Now, what we're doing is we're overlapping, and you're going to see why here in a moment. Okay, so now let's take number 5, copy, and we'll paste, and this will be box 6. Okay, and now let's have our position be 50 pixels from the top, and let's try 150 on the left, and we will have this one be green. And let's save and see if I got this in the position I was trying to get this one into. All right, so now we have, because of the order, remember box 4, then box 5, box 6. So this one is in the background, then this one is next, and then this one is next. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use z-index. So if we go back to our code, so if we want the blue one to come forward, then this is a lesser number right now. So we start, I believe we start at 1, and we go forward with larger numbers. So you think about that you have your x coordinate this way, you have your y coordinate, and then if you can sort of imagine the arrow coming at you and going away from you. Okay, so I'm not sure if it'll do it here, but if you can imagine things coming forward and going backwards. All right, so that is your z-index. So let's place some z-index on the blue. So let's go to our box 4, and after our background, what we'll do is type in z-index, and let's just use a large number so we know we're going to come forward, and we will save, and let's refresh, and you should see that your blue comes forward. Okay, let's go ahead and go back, and we'll set our z-index to 1, and we'll save. We should go back to what we had, or actually this is 1, so these others are at 0. So let's basically, let's put 0 here. Clicked on the wrong thing. And we'll refresh. And now our element went back. Okay, so we can start at 0, and then we can add, we can use greater numbers to move our elements forward. So this is in position 0, then technically this would be 1, this one would be a 3, let's say, because of the order that they're in. What if I want this one to go behind the blue one? Well, we can also use negative z-index. So let's go to box 6, and we will add z-index, and let's go with -1, and we will save, and let's refresh our page, and we now have our 6 box going behind the other boxes, because we're using a negative z-index to go further back in space. Okay, now just because we can, let's look at using opacity. And if you add opacity to an element, it's going to add opacity to everything in that element. So let's just go to 4 after our z-index, and we'll add opacity, and 1.0 would be 100% opaque. 0.5 would be 50% opaque or 50% transparent, however you want to look at this. So if we go 0.5, 5, and then our semicolon. And let's copy this, and we will add our opacity. And you can experiment with different, again, you could have 0, which would be transparent, and you can go all the way up to 1.0, which would be 100% opaque. So let's just add opacity to each of our boxes here, and we will save. And let's refresh. And you'll see that you now can create levels of opacity with your elements. Now remember, everything inside an element which has opacity will make the elements inside of it also have that opacity. Okay? All right, so using absolute position and our coordinates based off of one of the 4 corners. Now, in my example, I did everything top left, but you might explore moving elements around with top right. You might have bottom right or right bottom, and you might also have top bottom. I'm sorry, left bottom. Okay, so something that you might want to experiment with, moving your elements around using absolute position and coordinates.